Okay. Okay. Albert Einstein says only two things are infinite: the universe and human stupidity, and says, I'm not sure about the former. When does man show up his stupidity? When he fails to put his intelligence to use. Now, this intelligence may be cognitive intelligence, but mostly emotional intelligence. Now, the concept of emotional intelligence is quintessentially an inseparable component for every individual, more so for every successful leader. Now, the concept of emotional intelligence created quite a buzz. Ever since Daniel Goleman, in his first book on emotional intelligence, which was published in 1995, EI has become one of the, I must say, hottest buzzword in corporate circles. It's been more than 15 years, almost 20 years now since the buzz has begun, and the interest continues and will continue to stay. Now, the question is, why? Why? Because it's a matter of necessity. Emotional intelligence is a matter of necessity. Do you see the metamorphosis that workplace dynamics have taken place? During the mid-80s, workers knew 85% of the job that had to be done. So 85% of the knowledge of the job the employee knew. Workers towards late 90s only knew about 15 to 20% of knowledge of the job they did. That means it has moved from a phase of generalization to specialization. Every individual is specialized in a particular activity and has been, and deep into that specialization, the individual is engrossed in. And now the requirement is to work in teams. So the team collectively, accumulates about 85% of the knowledge of this knowledge and the skill base that is required to complete a job. Somebody has to unmute. Nodi, somebody has to mute.
Please, Prakash, mute your audio.
Prakash sir, please mute your audio.
Thank you. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ವಾ? Okay.
Prakash, mute your audio, please.
Now, as if to add fuel to fire, let us examine what is the changing career paradigms of workforce now. See, let me compare the old career paradigms with the new career paradigms. In the past, there was something called as job security. Today, we do not have what is called as job security. No longer do employees crave for job security because, you see,
Shivkumar sir, please mute your audio.
Prakash, mute your audio,
Shivkumar
please.
sir. Prakash sir. Prakash sir.
ಯಾರದು? ಪ್ರಕಾಶ್ ಅವರೇ, ಪ್ರಕಾಶ್ ಅವರೇ, ಮಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಪ್ರಕಾಶ್, ವೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಹಿ? ಇಟ್ಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಸೀನ್ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್. One second. Now, unless Mr. Prakash.
Okay, madam. Just a minute.
Prakash avare.
Okay, madam. Okay, madam.
ಯಾರು ಓಕೆ ಅಂತಿರೋದು? ಯಾರು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು? ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಯು ಪ್ಲೀಸ್? ಹಾ, ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ನೋಡಿ. ಇನ್ನೂ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ. ನಿಮ್ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ನೀವು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮನೆಲ್ಲ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರೋ ಪ್ರತಿ ಇದನ್ನು ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ. ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬೆನ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ,
Still, he has not yet muted, madam.
what do I do? How do I? Somebody has to give a call.
Ma'am, you can choose to mute them.
Where is
You're
that?
the co-host.
If this continues, let me look at it. Okay, can I have your attention, please? Undivided attention here. Now, I was talking about old paradigms vis-a-vis new paradigms. In the past, there was something called as job security. Today, neither does the employer provide you with something called as job security, nor is a challenging employee in any way trying to prove his point and ask for job security. Today, job security is being replaced by what is called as employability security. Andre, you see what has happened is, when an employer hires an individual, for an employer, a 2-year or a 3-year stay is good enough for them to squeeze the best out of the individual, and he is done. That is the situation now. So they are not even asking for employee loyalty. They are not even giving job security. Both ways. They don't want employee loyalty. They don't want to give job security. As long as you stay within our organization, you given the best. You get this point. And therefore, today, it is not also employability security. Today, we are talking about task security. ಇವತ್ತು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರೋ ಕೆಲಸನ, ಈ ಕೆಲಸನ ನಾವು ಪರ್ಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕಾಗಿದೆ. That is the kind of paradigmatic shift that has taken place. So job security is being replaced by what is called as employability security. That is, the individual is willing to shift jobs by virtue of the competence and skills that he would have learned by being in a particular job. He is open for newer frontiers. He looks for greener pastures, and then he moves on. Longitudinal career paths have been replaced by alternate career paths. What we call as the job person fit today is being replaced by person organization fit. Is the individual, we are not looking for a fit between job and person. That was the days of special, the earlier days of mechanization. Today, in an organic structure, what organizations are doing is, if this fellow or lady were to align with my organization's culture and values, then it is good enough. I will train her to be functional. Therefore, they are looking for a person organization fit in the place of job person fit. Organization loyalty is being replaced, as I already told you, by task loyalty. Career success is being replaced by work and family balance. Hinde, the focus was on career success. Today, what is it that the employees want? What is it that today's generation of employees are asking for? They are asking for a work and family balance. Work-life balance is what they're asking for. In the past, academic degrees were very important. Today, academic degrees are being replaced by continuous learning. As long as you are in a position to deliver, then there is no problem at all. Your qualification is not the requirement. Your ability to perform is the requirement. And therefore, what is it that they're looking for in employees? Ability to continuously relearn is what they're looking for. Decorative designations, positions, and titles are given less emphasis today. Today, what is it that the employees are looking for? Opportunities for competency development. Okay? So that is important to them, not the decorative designations. Full-time employment is being replaced by contract employment. Retirements today is being replaced by career sabbaticals. They take off for some period of time, and single job careers jobs and careers are being replaced by multiple jobs and careers. Multiple function, multiple role, multiple skill requirements. These have necessitated this kind of transition. So, the phase is one of moving from specialization to generalization. And with changing workplace dynamics and changing career paradigms, see, both workplace dynamics have changed, career paradigms have changed, and in the backdrop of the change in both the workplace dynamics as well as the career paradigms, it's time that we realized the power of emotional intelligence or leadership. Now, developing leaders with a managerial career path. I'm again repeating, developing leaders with a managerial career path requires exposure to individuals in terms of cross versatility, cross functional versatility. Andre, here the exposure required is in respect of all functions. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು specialization ಇಂದ we are moving to generalization, where exposure is there to all operations and all functions, and a conceptual understanding of the organization as a whole is required for leadership. Then the grooming also requires employees to undertake job and developmental challenges, which means that structured experiences have to be given to facilitate development, and they must be put in strategic assignments in order that they learn to cope with various kinds of responsibilities. Then developing core competencies. Now this requires training in specific responsibilities, specific competencies, and they must also go through what is called as transition training. And then they must be open to learning and relearning, which means that there is a requirement for what is called as multi-rater feedback, where every employee is given an opportunity to identify his strengths and his areas of development so that he may be either coached or counseled to that position. So this is how you develop leaders within the managerial career path. ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿದ್ರೂ, despite understanding the path that is required to be taken for a manager to become a leader, yet there are some leadership derailment factors that bog them, that bog individual employees who are unable to take up or take on the leadership role effectively. What are they? Idana we call it as leadership derailment factors. What are they? Being aloof. Ella irutte, intelligence irutte, cognitive intelligence irutte. ಆದರೆ they lack that emotional intelligence of socializing with people. They tend to remain aloof. Or they may be very knowledgeable, but with that knowledge there may be an element of arrogance. Okay? Or managers and leaders may be too cautious to take decisions. Being too cautious will stifle them in the process of taking decisions and solving problems. Sometimes these leaders believe in themselves so much and their self-efficacy that they are distrustful towards others. They don't trust their subordinates. They become theory X managers. They are not willing to trust their subordinates. They are not willing to accept that they have the potential to contribute in problem solving or decision making. Some leaders are eccentric. They have a lot of mood swing. It is very difficult to understand them. It's very difficult to, try and read them. And some leaders have such a penchant for politics that they are very mischievous. They know ಮಗುನ ತೊಟ್ಲಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಕ್ಕೂ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಗಿಂಡಕ್ಕೂ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. They are so mischievous. And leaders could also be passive aggressive. Passive aggressive is something that is very dangerous. If they are aggressive, you can take on them. But if they are passive aggressive, you never know. ಎಲೆ ಮರೆ ಕಾಯ್ನಂಗೆ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, and you never know where it ignites. And they will always use somebody's shoulders. Okay, they look for gun fodder. They will place it on somebody's shoulder and shoot. These passive aggressive leaders, aggressive qualities in a leader is very, very dangerous. Some leaders, unfortunately, are such perfectionists. And perfectionist is okay from an idealistic perspective. But if you have to, but it is not realistic. That is where there can be a lot of follies, there can be relationship problems, there could be problems of followers, we cannot be able to lead them. And some leaders are emotionally volatile. They tend to throw up tantrums for a small cause. They make a mountain of a mole. Some leaders have low tolerance, and that is low tolerance particularly in the light of ambiguity. They want everything established, rules, regulations, system drawn. Any kind of uncertainty, they become panicked. Some leaders are excellent workers, but they are very poor at delegation. They may not be able to get work done through and with people. Some leaders are insensitive. They lack that required understanding to adapt themselves to the environment in which they are working. They have least empathy. And there are also leaders who are over ambitious. They are great leaders, no doubt. They are achievement driven, but so over ambitious that some way they derail. Some leaders are mired in details. Everything they want it in clear writing, which is not possible. Operations cannot take place with every written fact drawn. And some leaders are conflict averse. They don't want to come anywhere near people or problem. They run away from people and problem. And there are individuals who lack follow through. They will initiate, implement with excitement, but finally they will not work towards the deliverables. They will not follow through till the last. The goals have been achieved. So this talks about the leadership puzzle. Despite knowing the fact what is required for an effective leader, it is these existence of derailment factors that enable, disable an individual from operating effectively in any environment. So the question is, what is emotional intelligence? Is it just common sense? Is it an age-old wisdom? Hinge nadkobeku, hinge madbeku. Is it a personality theory? Is it a communication skill? I'm talking about emotional intelligence. Is it common sense? Is it an age-old wisdom? Is it a personality theory? Is it a communication skill? Or is it repackaging the old stuff for our consumption? It is all of this and even more. I just looked at some of the individuals saying, no. When I asked, is it this, is it that? It is all of this and much more. I will come to it as to what is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence involves the ability to perceive, to apprise, and to express emotions. You must have the abilities for all this, to understand, to apprise the pros and cons, and be able to opinionate and express your emotions. It involves the ability to access and generate feelings which facilitate thought. So the heart and the mind has to work together. It involves the ability to understand emotion and emotional knowledge. The skill of empathizing, the skill of being able to understand your impact on others and others' impact on you, and expression of it is important. And it involves the ability to regulate emotions to promote emotional and intellectual growth. So, emotional intelligence, if you ask me in very, very simple terms, ಇದನ್ನೇ ನೀವು ತುಂಬಾ ಅರ್ಥಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೇಳಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಇಮೋಷನಲ್ ಇಂಟೆಲಿಜೆನ್ಸ್ is all about handling ourselves and our relationships, because this can determine life's success more than your IQ. In fact, emotional intelligence, please hear, I'm telling you, reiterating this again, emotional intelligence is the ability to know and manage oneself. Ability to know and manage oneself, and also along with this, be aware of what you are and have the ability to manage your relationships with others. That is emotional intelligence. The ability to know and manage oneself along with an awareness and ability to manage other people. That is emotional intelligence. So there are certain basics here. One must possess both traditional intelligence, which we call as IQ, and emotional intelligence that we call as EI. Emotional intelligence fits with the commonly held notion that it is more important than just brains to make a successful living. And one must be able to develop and maintain a healthy interpersonal relationship. These are the requirements for emotional intelligence. So how do emotions affect leadership? How does it affect? Emotions can influence your judgments and decisions. Have you noticed? When you are very angry at somebody, what is its impact on the judgment and the decision you take? Today, for example, in my office, there was an entrance examination that had to be conducted. The concerned assistant, without any information to the office, has not turned up for the examination, who had to conduct this exam, receive papers, collect, issue papers, regulate all this, and then bundle it up and then give it to the university. The person didn't turn up at all. 11:30 is the exam. 10:30, there is nobody in the office to receive and do this without any intimation. I was at my wit's end. At that point of moment, I had nothing to do, but I said, I'm going to issue a memo and check off this individual. I don't require such individuals with such negligence and dereliction of duty. But if I gave a little thought, if I took a little more time than immediately issuing a memo, okay, there probably, I may have to empathize the fact that there could have been something very untoward that could have happened in the family for which the individual may not have turned up. So, kopakke nam kotputre, it can go, it can have very devastating effect. Emotions can influence your judgments and decisions. Emotions can also help in generating enthusiasm and optimism in an organization. If you are a little empathetical, if you are trying to facilitate and nurture the individual has greater motivation and enthusiasm and is more optimistic, more confident, and more willing and commitment. There is a greater element of commitment to work for an organization. So emotions which can generate enthusiasm is much required for a leader. Regulating emotions effectively contributes to the ability to solve problems with minimal stress. If in anger, if in excitement, if in anything extremes, good and bad, if you are too emotional and then you take a decision or you try to solve a problem, it may not be effective. You could do it with minimal stress if provided you are emotionally stable, you are able to regulate your emotions and then act. Emotionally intelligent leaders are more flexible. They consider alternative scenarios, avoid rigidity. This is the way to be done. This is the right thing. They don't agree with that. They avoid rigidity in their decision making. So to be an emotionally intelligent leader, you need to make judgments and decisions when your emotions are stable. Your emotions should be such that it makes the environment conducive for effective working. Regulate the emotions in order that you are in order to create a stressless environment, and be flexible in order that you become more successful in decision. Jack Welch says, no doubt emotional intelligence is more rare than book smarts, but my experience says it is actually more important in the making of a leader. That goes only to further stress on the fact that emotional intelligence is most essential for a leader. Now the question is, why is this emotional intelligence so important? Emotional intelligence is very important because it helps in solving problems, it helps in taking decisions, it helps in improving the group performance of the employees, it helps in individual performance, it helps in social exchange, okay? It helps in building interpersonal relationships, it helps in managing change, and also helps in conducting fair performance evaluations. Today, emotional intelligence is considered as fundamental for getting along in the workplace, and it is considered to be a primary leadership and managerial quality or competency or trait. And it is said that the most important task of a leader is to prime good feeling, to create good feeling in those that they lead. In the people that they follow, they have to create the good feeling, and that must act as a resonance. It has to be on the back of the mind, ringing in the minds of employees, because it is a reservoir of positivity, where even if an individual is tensed with anxiety, it frees him to do the best. That should be the task of a leader today. So, the success of a leader is dependent on how they do something, whether they are upbeat, excited, whether they are enthusiastic, whether they are capable of moving the followers along with them, whether they are negative, whether they are passive aggressive, or whether they are people who cause distress or who zap off the enthusiasm of other smarter workers. So, the success of the leader depends on these things. A good leader, remember, is not someone who has an answer to everything. A good leader is someone who achieves results through collaborative work, through a good team effort. Now, research has said that emotional quotient is 2 times as important as the cognitive abilities, that is your intelligence quotient. It is said that 90% success of the leader can be attributed to emotional quotient. Because you see, the leader is responsible for creating a congenial organizational climate and culture, leading to productivity and organizational effectiveness. Research also says that 70% of the employees' perception of an organization climate is associated with emotional intelligence of the leader. Therefore, emotional intelligence has become the core competency of a leader. Now, what leadership skills make the greatest difference? The leader must be a visionary. The leader must show confidence both in himself and in others. He should be a role model. He should be personally exemplifying the firm's vision on one side, values and standards on the other side. He must demonstrate, the leader must demonstrate personal sacrifice. He must demonstrate determination and courage. This is what makes him different from the rest. Now, what should the emotional intelligence leader remember? This kind of an EI leader must remember certain things. One is the awareness of intent. Andre, I'll give you an example. To be productive is the awareness of the intent. The intent is to be productive. Awareness of action. What if I do will help me achieve my intent? That is, keeping an eye on own self about the way I must be able to achieve the vision. 3, using the emotion as a cue for gauging the day. Was I composed today? Did I ruffle up with people? Did my relationship with my subordinates get impacted? Was I effective in conveying a message? Was I displaying country club leadership that is showing concern for people? So, and then along with this, the leader must remember to stay proactive. Proactive means even before the problem arises, he must have a plan of action. Stay proactive as an impetus. It must act as an impetus for self-motivation. So, let me take you to this emotional intelligence hierarchy. You know that I have been telling you, emotional intelligence is a function of personal competence and social competence. So what does personal competence entail? Personal competence entails self-awareness, self-management, and self-motivation. And the social competence consists of social awareness and social control. Nodi? PC consists of self-awareness, self-management, and self-motivation. Social competence consists of social awareness and social control. Now, looking at this hierarchy, you see this arrow mark? Now, this hierarchy starts with personal competence of self-awareness, self-management, and self-motivation, followed by social awareness and social control. At the bottom is what is called as dependence. Now, as you become more self-aware, as you are able to regulate yourself, self-managed, and resulting in your own happiness and enthusiasm called self-motivation, you have moved from a state of dependence to independence. What happens? Initially, you are dependent. From dependence, once you become self-aware, when you are able to self-manage, when you are self-motivated, you have achieved what is called as private victory. That means you have moved from a phase of dependence to independence. Now, when you move from a state of independence further, that is by being socially aware, by being social, by having understanding of the social control, you have moved from a phase of independence to interdependence, which we call as public victory. Nodi? From bottom, dependence to independence, you have achieved private victory, that is through your personal competence. From independence to interdependence, when you move, you achieve what is called as public victory, that is a phase where you are being both socially aware and understanding the handles of social control. So you must understand that both public victory, private victory, and public victory are important for an emotionally intelligent leader. Now let's go to these competencies, EI competencies. Now, this is what I have just explained to you. I will not dwell on the same chart again. I will go to explain what it each means. You see, it is said, research says, that the impact of self-awareness on self-management is very high. The impact of self-awareness on self-management. It is said that a person has a 50-50 chance of demonstrating self-management if he is self-aware. Okay? With self-awareness, a person has 50-50 chance of demonstrating self-management. Without self-awareness, a person has virtually no chance of demonstrating self-management. And as far as self-awareness impact on social awareness is concerned, research says, without self-awareness, a person has 83% chance of lacking social awareness. The essence of self-awareness is seeing yourself as others see you. It is here that 360-degree feedback becomes very, very critical. Now, I was telling you, what is this self-awareness? It consists of emotional awareness, a proper introspection for accurate self-assessment, and being able to gauge your self-confidence. Self-management is being able to tolerate ambiguity, that is being comfortable with all the uncertainty and ambiguity, being able to embrace the novelty that is that exists, that is openness to change, and being tolerant to stress. If an individual is able to display tolerance towards stress, being comfortable with uncertainty and ambiguity, and being open to change, inviting challenges, then the individual is likely to be self-managed. And what gives an individual self-motivation? The internal drive, the drive from within, that is the achievement drive, being kicked off with every achievement. You know, this will add to an individual's commitment, initiative to try new things, being very suggestive and innovative, and optimistic that he or she will succeed. This is personal competence. And emotional self-awareness basically recognizes how our emotions affect our performance. And this accurate self-assessment is knowing one's inner resources, abilities, and the limitations. And self-confidence is which is a strong sense of one's self-worth and capabilities. Then coming to the self-management, when we say self-management is all about basically self-control, emotional self-control. So that is like in our previous session we were talking about keeping our disruptive emotions under control, having a check on our impulse. Secondly, trying to be more transparent by maintaining the integrity, acting congruently with one's values, aligning words, actions, and being adaptable, that is being flexible to handle changes. And also it includes what is called as optimism, trustworthiness, belief in others, conscientiousness. We call that being organized actually. So all of these things talk about self-management or self-regulation. And coming to self-motivation, it is derived through achievement, that is striving to improve or meeting the standards of excellence. Initiative shown by being readiness, by showing the readiness to act on an opportunity. And optimism is about having persisting that yes, I will pursue the goals despite the obstacles, despite the challenges. I will not give up. I will achieve. So that is optimism. Next, let me move on to the social competence, which is comprised of social awareness and social skills. Now, social awareness is reflected through empathy, service orientation, nurturing others, leveraging on the various diversities, and being politically aware. When I say empathy, it means it comprises of sensing others' feelings, perspectives, taking an active interest in the concerns of others. That is empathy. And service orientation is about anticipating, recognizing, meeting customers or clients' needs, and being aware, organizationally aware, politically aware is about reading the groups. It could be management, it could be various peer groups, the emotional currents that takes place, and the power dynamics, power equations, and relationships. This constitutes social awareness. Then the social skills of being able to influence upon others, being able to articulate and speak, communicate, being expressive, making people understand one's intent, being able to lead, being a catalyst of change. That is, where you initiate the change and then you build momentum to the change, and managing conflicts, building bonds, team spirit, okay, collaborative work, cooperation. See, I'm not talking about conflict. I mean, I'm not talking about, when I'm saying collaboration and cooperation, I'm talking about building a very cohesive group, where the team's capabilities are enhanced. So this social skill requires you to sense what are the developmental needs of others, and then leveraging, bolstering the abilities of other individuals for a common good. And this inspiring leadership requires you to guide individuals and groups, putting the organization above self. And catalyzing change requires you to initiate, implement, and manage the change program, while working with others requires you to be impactful, to influence them, you should be able to resolve conflicts, you should be able to work with individuals, putting both the individual goal as well as the group goals in tandem, and create synergy. What is synergy? 1 plus 1 is equal to 11, not 2. It is equal to 11. It is, as a group, you are able to outperform more than what you could do as individual members. So these competencies are essential for all, irrespective, all managers, all individuals, but for leaders, it is much more essential, because the leader's domain consists of various stakeholders. The stakeholders could be management, there could be investors, there could be employees, there could be vendors, there could be the direct reportees, there could be the government authorities, there could be the customers. Now, this leader is answerable to all of these stakeholders, and it is important that the emotionally intelligent leader not only has the domain knowledge, but must have the knowledge to get desired results by working in a team. You see, putting both the cognitive abilities of the resource persons involved along with the additional skill of displaying emotional intelligence and propelling competition within, in order that all of them turn out to be successful. Then I'll quickly just run through this. I'm not going to run all of these slides. I'm just trying to tell you what a successful leader, what are the traits of a successful leader. If he's a people-oriented leader, he must have skills of empathy, social responsibility, stress tolerance. He must be able to control his impulse and display happiness. If he is a process-oriented leader, he must ensure that certain processes take place within certain stipulated periods of time, which means he needs to assert, he needs to be independent, he needs to provide opportunities for people to experience the best in them, that is the potential which we call as self-actualization. He must also be tolerant to stress and optimistic. For an organization-oriented leader, the traits of building sound interpersonal relationship, taking a reality check, because he has to be practical and operational. He can't go by idealistic frameworks. He must also provide opportunities for self-actualization, display happiness and be able to control his impulsive moves. A participative leader, again, will have more or less these qualities that I have already discussed. A grounded leader is one who is highly matured, who is forward-looking, who controls his anger and is not impulsive, tolerant to stress, socially responsible because he is the ambassador of the organization. His actions will reflect what he stands for the organization, and that element of optimism. Then comes, now let me come to a very important aspect, that is, what is EI skills and what is the contribution of each of these? Suppose you are self-aware, then what happens? An individual with self-awareness is able to identify and address what is called as blind spot. Now, I would like to pause here. I would like to ask the audience, anybody in this group who can, in less than 1 minute, tell me what is blind spot? Anybody? Unmute.
Okay. It is a situation or a point which is there but not visible to the person.
That means a blind spot, you see, this comes in Johari window. Okay? Johari window. Have you all heard of Johari window? A model of communication and relationship building. So in Johari window, we talk about one window called as the blind spot. A blind spot is one where things are not known to you, but known to the world. Everybody knows what you are, but you don't know what you are. Okay? Things others know, but you don't know. For example, I'm just giving you an example. Within your circles, just try and imagine an individual who is extremely boastful. At the drop of a hat, he talks about his connections with big people, bigwigs, politicians, talks about crores, talks about very expensive cars and branded clothes and, the hi-fi, everything hi-fi. I mean, nothing ordinary that you can think of. And all the time doing this becomes an integral part of the individual's personality. He feels that, yes, he starts proclaiming that as an individual, he is very influential, he knows very big people, because he keeps on thinking and saying, he knows big people, he is connected to big things, he has a lot of money, crores of rupees. Actually told, there is nothing. He is unaware about his nature, but the world around him knows that he is a boastful person. There is no stuff and credibility in this individual. The world knows, but the individual doesn't know because he has begun to accept it as a part of his personality. That is called as blind spot. Self-awareness, what will self-awareness do? It will help individual to identify what is it that he is unaware about himself. It will help him to address the blind spot. It will help the individual to identify what are his vulnerabilities, deficiencies, lacuna, inefficiencies, inadequacies. These things are being identified. It helps the individual to develop a personal learning plan. If I know that I am weak in this, if I fall short in this, then I will develop a plan of action in order that I overcome these deficiencies. And social awareness helps in grasping non-verbal communication. If you are aware of yourself, you become alert to the world around you. People may not speak, but you are able to, you are sensitive enough to understand even if somebody does not speak about it. Second, self-motivation. What is its contribution? It helps individuals to develop optimistic outlook towards life. Because when you start celebrating your successes, when it starts giving you that kind of happiness for achieving, it will, instantly convert itself into energy. And then you are willing to try new things, innovate, take some element of risk, calculated risk, in order that you would want to prove something more and beyond. Then this self-management, how does that contribute? It helps to develop more flexible perspectives in life. Okay, you are able to incorporate so many things, alternatives, ways in which you could bring about change within yourself. You will be able to handle negative pressures in a more effective manner. And there will be some control, regulation in your emotional outbursts. You are able to filter that. That is the way self-management helps you. Then, how does social awareness contribute? It helps the individual to understand the internal power of the group in an organization. It is very, very important as a leader. If you want to grow tall in an organization, if you want to kind of, be able to, make a point, you must understand which side of the bread is buttered. It's very, very important. Just being hard worker is not important. You should also be a smart worker. You must be socially aware. Who is who within an organization, where things work. You should know which strings to pull. And you should know the dynamics that take place, the equations that exist between individuals. And social awareness helps in leveraging diversity. Okay? For example, see, you are all a diverse group coming from different backgrounds with different with different mindsets, from different cultures. How do you leverage your diversity? Now, by the kind of networking that you do, you must be socially aware. Who is who? Your co-participants, where do they come from? What is their resource? How can I make use of their resource, or how can my resources be made good by somebody else? What is this kind of networking that we can build? That is very, very important. And an emotionally intelligent leader through social awareness is also providing opportunity for developing others. That's how he becomes a hero. That's how people will celebrate and look up to him, adore him. And coming to the social skills, the contribution, if you have social skills, you have the ability to persuade people. You're able to bring yourself upon the individual. You are able to influence them. You will be a catalyzer of change. You can initiate change because you have the social skills. You have followers. You have people to accept you. And you help in improving the cohesiveness, the bonding behavior of group members. The stronger, what happens? How do you build group cohesiveness? the sensitivity among group members, greater is the level of interaction. Greater the level of interaction, more the feelings, greater the level of sensitivity. And in this process, that spirit that binds them all becomes very, very strong. And social skills help in effectively handling any dysfunctionality. Now, this dysfunctionality can be in the form of a conflict, of a difference of opinion. If you have sound social skills, you are able to prevail upon individuals in order that there is some element of consensus. So, these are the contributions of social skills. Now, coming to the closing thoughts on emotional intelligence. Please read this carefully. The measurement of emotional intelligence in the workplace is the first step towards improving it. So you must make an attempt to understand where you stand in terms of your EI. Do you have a high ability or do you have a low ability? By understanding the strengths and weaknesses of the teams which you lead, one can systematically work towards increasing the skills that count. It's all about situational leadership. Who is good at what? Who has what resources? How is it possible to leverage the competence, the diversity, the intelligence of various group members in order that you build a very strong team, a productive team, a high-performing team? The truly intelligent human being is one who is not only cognitively intelligent, but also emotionally intelligent. Okay, this is my some of my thoughts on linking emotional intelligence to effective leadership. Now, I want questions from you. You please feel free to ask me any question that you want to pose. And very importantly, I want to hear some feedback from you. I want to hear feedback about my session, how it has gone, what are your feelings about, what is the takeaway, and whatever suggestions, good, bad, whatever you want to say, please feel free to express it. Go on, please. The house is open for discussion.
Ma'am, this is Indira.
Yeah.
Coming to the feedback, your fluency is incredible. So there is no doubt about it. You are fit to be a consultant, to be frank, in the area of your knowledge. I have heard you before also during the previous RCs, and every time I feel that you give, extra feedback. Though I have heard this emotional intelligence earlier, I feel like I have learned little more about it. It is not that the repetition. So I really feel happy that I'm able to listen to you most of the time.
Thank you.
And I have a question.
Yes, please.
Coming to this emotional intelligence, do you think this emotional intelligence, if it is at the higher degree in a leader,
Do you think?
If this emotional intelligence is at the higher degree in a leader, don't you think he will be misused by the employees because he is more aware of the, emotions of the other persons?
Emotional intelligence does not mean being soft. Emotional, you see, there is a very thin line of being soft and being assertive without being aggressive. You please see the distinction.
Yes, I saw that line assertive later.
An emotional intelligent leader is not soft. An emotional intelligent leader is empathetic to the degree that he can give a leeway. It doesn't mean to say okay for everybody. He's not a country club manager. An emotionally intelligent leader asserts himself with facts, feelings, and figures. If he needs something, he says it in firm tone and giving rational justification for what he wants and why he wants. So there is little game that somebody can take him for a ride. They can't take him for a toss. They can't toss with him. Therefore, don't be under the impression just because he is responsive to emotions of others, he is being easy. No. I hope I have answered your question.
Oh, yes, ma'am. One more. Sorry for asking again. There is a statement that leaders are not born, they are made.
Yeah.
But when I look into this, slides and talk from you, I feel that this kind of, intelligence has to be by birth. During the childhood itself, one needs to have these qualities. It cannot be all of a sudden in a leader.
Okay, let me tell you. See, leadership is acquired with time, circumstances, and exposure. If there are certain traits that is there within an individual by birth, it is a bonus. You get this point? Every one of us can develop ourselves to be leaders, which means to say it can be learned. Learned through experience, through circumstances. Okay? So this is something that we can learn by adaptation. If you have that advantage, or if you are the favored person with certain inborn traits, then you have an added advantage of becoming a more effective leader. Probably it will be a cakewalk for you. For somebody else, they have to put in a great deal of efforts. Both of which is true.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Anybody else?
Ma'am, this is Shruti.
Shruti, madam. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. The way you carried the session was excellent, ma'am.
Thank you.
There is no doubt about it, but we have heard about you, your excellence in teaching and all from my colleagues, because they were your students in MBA, ma'am.
Okay.
And one more thing, the session was really highly relevant to current situation, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Anybody else have any other thoughts, any contributions you want to make? You're at liberty, because this is the time that is given to you. It's your time. We have, I think, about how many participants here?
32.
32 participants. And we have only 2 individuals coming forward to talk. It's your time. Make use of this time. If you have questions, you ask. If you want to give feedback, please give. If you want to contribute to these things, you are most welcome to add on to whatever is being said. It's such a pleasure for us during this lockdown. This type of, addressing our teachers on refresher courses is such a pleasure, because we are so bogged teaching the students, all the time. This, it's, a teacher is a learner always. I have been telling this on and on again. To teach, we must learn. To learn, we must teach. I am your co-learner. As an instructor or a resource person, I am a co-learner. There is so much that you may have, which if you share, there is a learning, both sides. That should be the mentality, that should be the approach to any of us as teachers.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, please.
I'm Rekha. My
Okay,
question
Rekha.
is there any situation where the conflict arises between that cognitive intelligence and emotional intelligence?
It's a wonderful question.
If yes, how he manages?
You see, an individual, these are 2 different things. One is the left side of the brain, and then the other one talks about the right side of the brain. Now, and an individual who has high cognitive intelligence need not necessarily be emotionally intelligent. You please understand. Example is some of the nerdish students who have been first rankers throughout, but are introverts, who do not mingle with people, who do not have the social etiquettes, tend to fail miserably, even in life, even in family life, even in personal life. They tend to, perform very badly, despite the fact that they have very high cognitive intelligence. Some of the best scientists who have achieved so many things, even they have failed to have a normal personal life because they lack in terms of emotional intelligence. There is a likelihood that it varies from individual to individual, depending upon what combination of intelligence they have in terms of cognitive, emotional, spatial intelligence. There are so many types of intelligence, intelligence for music, intelligence for, what do you say, for aesthetics and things like that. So it depends upon, as an individual, as a personality, what is that combination of intelligence that you possess. Where there is a conflict between, there can be conflict between, cognitive intelligence and emotional intelligence. I'll just give you an example. An individual who thinks, I know it all, I'm a little professor, I care less to the world, nobody knows better than me, I am most knowledgeable, lacks in terms of emotional intelligence to be able to carry people within the team who can be equally contributors. The others also could be the determining factors in the success of an organization, but little attention is given to these individuals because the boss feels that I know it all. So here his cognitive intelligence is overtaking his emotional intelligence, and in the process he becomes a failure. It is a derailment, leadership derailment factor. Can you understand this, madam? So it is important that you have a balanced proportion. See, ABC strategy: awareness, balance, and control helps in trying to understand how to be emotionally intelligent.
Yes, thank you, madam. You mean balanced leader will succeed?
Certainly, absolutely.
Thank you.
Domain knowledge ಬೇಕು, ಈ ಕಡೆ handling people ಬೇಕು. All of this is required to be executed.
Good leader. Okay.
Sir, go ahead.
If there is no question from the participants, shall I proceed to propose vote of thanks?
Please, may I know who's speaking here?
Lakshman, madam.
Okay, Mr. Lakshman, please.
Good evening, one and all.
Good evening.
I am Lakshman BH, Assistant Professor, Government First Grade College, Davangere. It is a great privilege to me to propose vote of thanks to today's afternoon session's resource person, Professor Aisha Mahmood Sharif, madam. Madam has enlightened and enhanced our knowledge with a rich experience relating to the topic stress management and linking emotional intelligence to effective leadership. Madam, your both sessions were very much useful and thought-provoking. On behalf of UGC-HRDC University of Mysore, Director, Joint Director, Course Coordinator, all the participants and myself, from the bottom of my heart, I extend sincere gratitude to you, madam. Once again, thank you, madam. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you.
ಹೆಂಗ್ ಗೊತ್ತೇ ಯುಕ್ತ
ಸರ್ ನಮಸ್ತೆ ಮುಗಿಪಾಯರ ಸರ್ ನಮಸ್ತೆ ಸರ್
Thank you, Jagdish.